you.
We are live now, so you guys know.
Hello, everyone. We are live. Welcome. Good to see everyone here. We are joined today by the Barton brothers, who made unscheduled appearance. Corey, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Love the energy.
Busy.
Fantastic, Corey. Clayton, how are you doing?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good.
George is in the house. How are you, George?
What's happening, everybody?
And Leroy.
Far out, man.
Far out. Jeez, wow.
You far
really
out, man.
Exciting topic today. We're talking about the death of the mainstream industry. What's contributed to it? Is it actually dead? Is it dying? Or is it just been kneecapped? We'll say hello, chat. We have Osgreat Sage. I hear Skip is getting a wrench, not from me. Eric von Stugel, hello.
Stugel!
What's with this monkey that everyone's putting in? Is this some sort of inside joke that I'm not aware of? Black Rose Comics?
If it was, I wouldn't tell you about it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. Tell me, right? Chris Crenham, too many soy milkshakes and not enough long-term storytelling. That doesn't completely jump the shark. Dennis Gildendal Jensen? Nice to see you. I haven't seen you before, mate. Welcome. K Manifesto. Crackheads in the house.
Yeah.
Eyebrow Ideas. Who else we got? RC Gates. Oh, we have the Ritter. Good to see you. Why are you Kyle, you can't claim a light color as your very own, I'm afraid.
You have to type that in.
Yes. Yeah, that is true. And Edwin the Ace Acevedo live on Indiegogo. We were having a really stimulating conversation about t-shirts and how Corey is wearing a V-neck. I don't know how Clayton feels about his brother wearing a V-neck t-shirts.
Dude, why do you want to take the stream into this direction? I don't understand.
Are you trying to keep it professional, Clayton?
Be more professional, Rob.
You're here. It's my channel. We don't have to be professional on my channel. I don't have a How to Draw Comics audience.
Look at George. He's like, here we go.
I was saying that George's shirt makes him look younger.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, you only look like 850 today, George.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I mean, I heard Corey say in the past he doesn't like t-shirts with logos on them. I agree. I've gone with an all black, no logo t-shirt. $6 from Kmart. That's how I roll.
Dude, I can't.
I got like 5 of them the other
logos,
day.
Man.
Yeah, dude, I buy them like 10 at a time. They're comfortable.
My wife complains when I buy the same type of shirt over and over. But that's
like,
because it's a good shirt.
What do you want from me? I'm happy. I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just ignore other people, Corey.
Yeah.
Do what you want.
Edwin's saying, unless you're The Rock, you can't pull off a black V-neck. I don't think anyone can pull off a black V-neck, let alone Corey.
You can. It's actually an optical illusion.
Are you having fun, George?
No.
Yeah. Hey man, blame Rob. Rob took it right here, straight away.
I thought we'd warm up before we get into the nitty-gritty.
What was the video?
Let me tell you something. Okay, I hear V-necks are fantastic on dates because it's an arrow. It's pointing downward. Where? What's south?
George is very close to I like comics, and I'm out of here. Let's get cracking on it. What do you feel about the statement that the mainstream's dead? Clayton, we'll go to you first because you look like you got something to say on that one.
Well, man, from my perspective, the mainstream is just so beyond irrelevant that the last time I thought about it was, months ago. I mean, Disney has been in the spotlight recently. People trying to boycott it. Disney is a massive monopoly on all entertainment at the moment. So for them to be boycotted as heavily as they are being and to cop this much criticism is, I mean, they're one of the biggest players. And if they go down, I mean, there's DC's. I don't think it's going to survive till the end of the year.
Wow.
Personally,
You mean just the comics part, right? That's what you
Hmm.
mean, right? Let's clarify.
the
Yeah.
comics part, yeah.
When you say mainstream, are you referring specifically to the monthly floppy, correct? Let's specify that from the beginning.
Me
Yes.
or Clayton?
It's your topic, it's your show. Mainstream is dying. Are you saying the monthly floppy? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the comics division.
Yeah, I
All
think
comics.
if they keep doing what they're doing, it will die eventually. Yeah, I mean, it'll die quickly, because we've seen what happens when they release these older compilations of the X-Men or the other classics. Like you would probably see massive amounts of sales on old compilations of Spider-Man and Superman and Batman back when the fan base that originally loved these comic books were fully invested in the characters. And they're not really anymore because the characters completely changed into new revised versions that they can't relate with. Like, it's not the characters that they grew up with. It's not the stories that they fell in love with anymore. It's completely different. Very different issues that are being dealt with. And so the question is, were they successful in bringing in a fresh audience?
That's interesting you say that, Clayton. Would you say that them not coming up with new IPs over the last 25 years hurt them more than it helped them in that case? Well, since you're saying that, I mean, what would you say to that?
Well, yeah, I agree. I think that they rode too long on top of those already established characters. And the only way for them to remain successful is to keep them as they are with the audience that they've already cultivated. That's the only way.
I think Corey's probably a good example, Clayton, because I mean, you and I and George and Rob, we have our favorite characters from back in the day, Where Corey, he's read Berserk and he knows, of the, but that's not his thing. And I wonder if they would have had newer IPs that he could have related to when he was our age, back, if he would have been more into comics than he is in the comics, but he's not. You guys know what I'm talking about. And it's not totally. It's not a slight to you, Corey. But if there was a different IP that would have piqued your, would you have been more interested, do you think?
Nah, man. Well, I've learned most of what's good from Clayton, to be honest. He showed, for example, he showed me a Witchblade Origins book the other day, and I got
oh god, look at Rob,
the first big volume of it. I'm damn, it was good. And when I went to Minotaur, a comic shop, for the first time in months, I didn't even check out the new issue stand. To me, it wasn't even in the store. I was just checking out the action figures, manga, and for some reason they hid the Image Comics section, which really annoyed me. But that book stood out to me, and I got it. So.
What is it about the current stasis of the industry, Rob, that makes you say it's dying, or the death of it? Why are you saying that?
Well, I mean, death is a strong word, but it's definitely been cut off at the knees. It's definitely on a downward trajectory. Other industries in the same thing, manga, and even the French comic book scene. I don't know if you saw this, but Bancroft had his wife on the other day, and apparently 1 in 5 people, 1 in 5 books are comic books that are sold. So they're like the premium graphic novel type books. So real high level of art quality and production value, and they come out twice a year. But 1 in 5 books of those, 1 in 5 is one of them. I think that's insane. So manga sales are going through the roof. French sales are incredibly impressive. The big 2 comic book sales are just going down.
I haven't seen numbers that say that. I don't know. You look up the data of what are comic book sales, and it shows that's going up, but that's going to include manga. It's going to include collected editions. So I don't know. I can tell you, I talk to my local shops, and they tell me that their new books aren't selling as well. But then again, they're making up for it in back issues. So I can't give you a straight answer on that.
That's the thing, George, is all of us have talked to our LCS, and all of us are hearing the same thing you're hearing. So if we take independent data and we add it up, we know new sales are down because every one of our owners are telling us this. It's not just yours. It's from all over the place.
Well, there's two ways to make money, right? Either you increase your sales or you decrease your costs, right? Those are the only two options that you have. And if sales are stagnant, what are you going to do? You're going to decrease your costs, which means not hiring the best talent. And that may be what's happening right now.
Yeah, well, I agree. I agree with that.
Why are the sales stagnant? I think that is the actual real question.
Well, it's not just one. There's not just one answer.
Nate, I'll tell you, it's this.
I got a good answer.
It's this really shit, SJW culture that gender identity politics. That's what it is. It's the propaganda aspect of not only comic books but also in the entertainment industry, those comic book franchises. And I don't know. Look, I'm going to go one step further and say this YouTube video should have been titled, "Why hasn't the comic book industry died yet?" Because when you see TV series like Batwoman, which is so bad that the lead actress leaves because she's getting so much criticism for it, like, how are these even being funded? Like, where are they pulling the money from when the viewership is so bad and the ratings are so bad? And the comic books, that's why no one's picking them up. The new issues aren't selling for a reason, and you can only keep selling back issues for so long. What kind of business model is that? You can't have this CP culture, right?
Let me interject for a second there, because George has been reading comic books for 30 plus years, George.
Mm-hmm.
Is what Clayton's saying, is that something you can actually see in the actual books?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, I can tell you that I've been hearing that comic books are dying for almost 40 years. 40, like 40. That's all I've been hearing it.
Wait, do you get new books, George? What do you say to the old?
I've recently stopped picking up the monthlies, but I'm always got my eye on them. But I can tell you, like, I've talked to creators that said in the 70s that they thought they were going to be out of a job by 1980. Things find a way of turning themselves around. And that's why this topic's kind of interesting to me, because I always hear that, comics are going away, comics are going away, but they find a way back. If you remember, like, in the 80s, everyone thought DC was going away. And then Frank Miller came in and boom, they developed a whole new style, that was prestige format books, those perfect bound, as you guys call them. And then that was hot for a while. And then when everyone thought everything was going away, Marvel came out with all of their big books, and then the Image came out. Like, there's always something that's going on where there's a dip and then there's a surge again. And I do think there's a dip. I do think there's a dip right now. I just don't think like dying is necessarily the right term, because I do think it can come back again.
I don't think anybody's saying that indie's dying or indie's dying, George. I think what we're saying is mainstream dying. What if that new surge is indie?
So when you say indie, you mean everything besides Marvel and DC? Is that what that means?
I mean independent creators. Yeah.
I think
I don't mean Image or Dark Horse. I mean those are mainstream. I'm saying what Clayton's doing, what Ethan's doing, what Sean Gordon Murphy's doing to tack on somebody outside of Comicsgate. What if that's or Keanu Reeves or Berserk? What if that's what is that? What if that's the spike you're talking about? Like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If you think about it, though, right? Like, Comicsgate books are doing really good, but they're still not doing as good as like the mainstream industry does. Like, it's only a few of us that have done like exceptionally well, like Ethan Van Sciver, probably.
Let's say John Malin.
Yeah, John Malin,
and
that's it. Like, I mean, Replicator's going pretty well, but he's not anywhere close.
Yeah, I think the good news is that these campaigns are doing better and better. They're raising more, they're getting more backers on board, which says that particular audience segment of the comic book audience is growing bit by bit. And people are telling their friends about this stuff.
And the fan base is incredibly loyal. Like, I don't know if I'm reading into it, but it seems like if you give them good customer service, a good book, respect, they'll come back every time.
Yeah.
They're like starved from that. It seems from the mainstream industries. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it.
I think that we're seeing more and more creators come independent, including in Comicsgate. I mean, including in Comicsgate, but independent in general. I mean, you're seeing more and more creators do that. I don't think Sean Gordon Murphy is going to be working for DC within 6 months. Like, and that's a big deal. That tells us what state DC is in, right? I mean, it should.
Yeah.
So, like,
is Jim Lee still there?
Right now, I think he's a figurehead, though.
Yeah.
Edwin says indie comics aren't in competition with the mainstream. This is a brand new movement that will only grow as the mainstream continues to die out. Yeah, and I don't think we are in competition with them either. It's just it's an interesting topic.
I think that the one thing that they've got that independents don't have. So here's the thing, right? What makes the crowdfunding indie scene work so well? It's got this variety. It's got better artwork. It's got arguably better storytelling when you take away the PC identity politics stuff. You just get a broader range of storytelling. The thing is, the quality does tend to vary to an extent, and the other major aspect of the mainstream is they have these already very well established IPs with massive fan bases,
brand recognition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what we're missing at the moment. And I think Ethan made a video, or he made a statement about this the other day, which was Cyberfrog really is the only major IP that stands out within Comicsgate at this point in time. And he stated that we need more. We actually need more characters that stand out just as much to get this movement going, even more than what it is now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would think that's a valid point.
And once we do, I think that, man, that's when the mainstream really will have to look out, because that's when people will be approaching creators, asking for deals on movies, asking for deals on figure ranges, video games, that kind of thing.
Okay, this is one thing that I think, and I'm not sure if everyone agrees with me, but these characters have been around for so long that they just kept getting reused, reimagined, killed, brought back. It's kind of like they're kind of done. Like, how many origins of Batman can we go through?
There's only one origin of Batman.
That story's been told over and over and over again, though.
I think if you were to approach the right creative team and gave them enough incentive, they could make any of those characters the best-selling characters. Yeah. I think giving them no creative freedom, not letting them have equity in the characters they create, and not putting the right teams together has hurt the mainstream.
Yes, so. I agree with George.
And it's something that, like, EVS has said, Shane said it, Malin has said it, that the editorial ball and chain, that stops these people creating what they want to create seems to be a huge deal back in the day, and up till recently as well. So that may be a huge reason why they've been handicapped in some starts. But there hasn't really been any new exciting characters that have taken off. Is it because Batman and Superman and Spider-Man are so strong, or
well, let's think about that, Rob. Let's think of the last 15 years, George.
Mm-hmm.
And what are some of the new? Are there any new characters that came out, or let's say 20 years that came out and really caught on?
The only characters I can think of are coming from other storylines, like a new Star Wars character, something like that. But as far as like a brand Spawn, that was from like 90.
Yeah, that's longer than 20 years ago. It's like
But Haunt didn't go off. I thought that was a really good character.
No, I'm trying to think. Since 2000, Walking Dead is the biggest thing I can think of.
Bloodshot. When did that come out? And he didn't really.
That came out in the 90s.
Yeah, he didn't really take
ago.
off either, though. I mean, he didn't explode, like Spawn did. But yeah, that's the point, though. That's just not happened, right? Like, so.
Right.
I mean, you could argue that Cyberfrog is like a new IP, even though there's like a really old version of it. Like, it's the most new original thing.
So to get back to where it's talking about like what's killing mainstream, Clayton talked about SJW stuff, or the insertion of politics in the comics, I would call it. Rob talked about the lack of IPs. I think it's a combination of different. We haven't talked about the age advancement of the customers. Like, we're all older now.
Can I say what I think on that?
Yeah.
I joked about it to Rob yesterday, but most of comics is male, and most males, they like really hot chicks.
Oh, dude, you cut out right at the
action.
perfect time.
Yeah.
Dude, I was saying really hot chicks and action, right? Which caters to more of the male audience. But when you cut that completely out and you have like sort of fat chubby chicks or gay dudes or whatever, that's why I think losing most of it as well. That's why like people won't even read the new X-Men or Spider-Man.
That's part of the political injection in the comics, though. That goes along with that. Yeah.
I'm asking all you guys in general, what if a new comic series came out, it was written by Frank Miller and illustrated by David Finch, and it's a Batman series? Would you guys buy it? You wouldn't buy it.
It depends if it had the hot chicks and action in it.
All I'm telling you
Miller could write anything.
Issue number 1's coming out. You don't know what it is yet. Frank Miller's writing. David Finch is drawing it. Are you buying it?
No.
I'd buy it just to check it out.
Actually see it.
I like Frank Miller.
How about you,
I
Leroy?
like David Finch.
I'm not a huge Finch guy. Like that's like.
I'm just trying to pick all the biggest names I could think of.
Because it's Frank Miller, I would give it consideration. Like, obviously, I mean, I would have to think about it.
I think.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
It has a lot to do with creative teams. I think it has a lot to do with the creators, whoever it may be. I think a lot of folks are getting hired now because of their page rate. It's much easier to find somebody who's getting paid $60 a page than taking a chance on someone that's making $900 a page.
Yeah.
Because how many more books do you have to sell if you're paying someone $22,000 a book?
Some people get paid $900 a page.
But that's a good point, George. But look here, we haven't talked about the formatting issue. You were saying monthlies, right? Because we had 3 Jokers by Johns and Fabok.
Mm-hmm.
In a prestige format that's not a monthly, and it sold it went nuts.
300,000 copies.
Right. So
and a second printing.
Right. So that's a team where you had Johnson Fabok. That was part of it. But I also think maybe you were alluding to this. Maybe the monthly issue format is dead, at the very least.
But that doesn't mean the industry is dead. I think a lot of people look at trades. I think every series that comes out now is formatted to be a 6-issue story followed by a trade. And it used to be like, I want the issues. I don't want the reprinted trade. But now the mindset is, why would I buy the issues when I can just buy the trade?
Mm.
And what do you think about that, George? Is that a format that you like?
At first I was dead set against it. I would only buy a trade if it was like something that was expensive. Like if I wanted to buy like the original like Batman stories from like the 60s or something like that, I would obviously buy the trade. But now now I look at it like if I know it's going to be a collected edition, I might just wait for the collected edition, especially when you can buy it super cheap somewhere else besides your local comic shop. And I won't say the store, but you know what I'm referring to.
Okay, cool. Well,
what
that's
about
interesting.
though if you had that same creative team and they were launching a new character? Would you be more inclined to buy it then?
So Frank Miller creates a new character. David Finch is illustrating it. It's a brand new character.
Yeah.
But I'd have to wait to see it because that could be any character. And the mainstream rules for DC and Marvel and like the bullshit editors do to the creative teams, that's what's really screwing him up.
For the last 2.5, 3 years at my LCS, George, I would look for new stuff. Like, honestly, and nothing. It's hard to find it in the comic book store. Something new and whatever outside of like YA or whatever. But if you're looking for like it's just you don't see it. That's the problem.
Yeah,
It's tough to gauge everything right now with everything that's going on worldwide to say, well, this is the new standard because things are just different right now.
No,
right?
I think we're in a. I think Rob is right in a sense where I don't think comics is dying, but I do think the mainstream as we know it or as we knew it is dying. It's going to die.
Well, it's been changing since they got rid of the newsstand. I mean, let's face it. We were talking about how 100,000 books was be considered a lot of books. I mean, there was a time when Batman was selling 700,000 copies a month when it was on the newsstand. So, like,
we need to get it back to that.
So you could say it's been dying since 1988. Like,
I mean, when you and I kids, we can go to 7-Eleven and get a comic book.
Yeah. So are you saying maybe it's not as accessible? Could that be it?
That's absolutely part of the problem. Absolutely. I mean, how are you going to entice a kid to buy a book that costs $5 and you have to go to a comic book store to buy it? Why can't you just go to a gas station and be able to spend 75 cents or $1.25?
Well, it's not 1932 anymore.
I'm just saying that's one of the reasons why you can't sell that many books a month.
George, because dude, it is a pain in the ass to try getting a comic in Australia. You have to go all the way to the city.
Yeah.
It's the same way. It's the same way in the States. They don't sell them at the grocery store or 7-Eleven or the gas station here. You have to go to the comic book store. It's
like
the same way here.
Bancroft was saying, like in France or something, they had comics in like the supermarket stores and shit right next to hair products. I'm like, of course that would sell heaps.
Well, because we're in Comicsgate,
because it's available.
Because we're in Comicsgate, like we talk about the death of the mainstream, and everyone wants to point out to the SJW shit. Like, this is it. This is the reason why. When in fact, there's multiple reasons why. SJW is a part of it. Absolutely, all the politics and shit. It's absolutely part of it. But there's more than one reason.
So
let me ask you guys.
Why did they get rid of the supermarket books then?
I can tell you exactly why. Because when the comic store started, they viewed the newsstand as a threat. So comic stores would say, look, we're going to bring your books in here, but if we can have someone else just go to a grocery store and buy it, why are they going to come here? So because these comic stores were exploding across the country, and Marvel and DC didn't want to lose that venue, they shut down their newsstand arm.
Yep, that's exactly what happened.
That's crazy in hindsight,
and there were so many creators that were screaming at them saying, you guys should not do this. You should put your books in as many places as humanly possible and let these stores deal with it. So look what happened.
I mean,
George, let me ask you, man, you still buy comic books from comic book stores, right?
Yep.
So I'm not sure what series you're reading, but what are the stories generally about? Because, see, from my perspective, I don't really read comic books, but I'm assuming that a lot of the stories are about what I've already mentioned.
Yeah, but George doesn't get the new stuff anymore, which I found sad. He only buys back issues now.
That is sad. So is there anybody here who buys new stuff and who knows what the stories are actually about? Because I see Zach's reviews, and that's very discouraging. I really only watch the TV shows at this point, and I watch like one episode and I'm done with it.
Yeah, man.
So what are the comic books actually about these days? Can anyone even say? Or is it?
Well, I mean,
completely
I got a recent run of Batman called Batman's Grave after a guy in the chat who's not around anymore. Cool. He convinced me to get it. So I went and got Batman's Grave. I got all 12 issues. I think it was a 12-issue run. It was it was a good comic, I mean, he kind of put detective. It was by, what's his name? The Predator, the writer. He's the one that went around and he's the playboy that went and got laid, and then all the chicks rebelled against him. What's his name? I forget. But anyways, he was the writer. it was a good series, you know, but I just think it's too far gone. Like the industry is too far gone for something for like that.
Oversaturated.
Yeah,
Bullshit.
Yeah, so like
by too far gone, do you mean the reputation is tarnished too much now? Like,
yeah, like even if you have a good book like that. So this book, for instance, put the emphasis back on Batman being a detective. He was doing all this crime scene investigation like Batman of old. It was great, loved it. But I just don't think that the audience is there anymore. Where I don't think it's recoverable. This is what I'm saying.
I went to my comic book store in the city last year, and I walked in there, and there were thousands upon thousands of books. Like, there is just so many comics that if you were new and you wanted to get into it, where would you even start? It was completely overwhelming. It was like having Netflix, Stan, Amazon, Disney, and all of them rolled into one right in front of your face.
Well, I start with an old graphic novel. Like Witchblade, I got the first graphic novel, but I don't even bother to look at the new issues. I go back to the old and find the original because I know it's good.
That's pretty common, Corey, because if I go to my LCS, like, there are always more people looking at the back issue stuff than the new stuff. Always.
Yeah. Because, like, you know, Spawn is like one whole long series, right? I don't know what the hell is happening in the latest Spawn comic.
I don't know what's
like
happening.
You might as well just go back to the original and collect it from there.
George didn't know what was going on in the Spawn comics in 1993, much less now.
No one else did either. I think there's always going to be revivals.
Yeah.
If you remember when McFarlane started on Amazing Spider-Man, his thoughts were, I want to bring back the classic villains. So then you saw him with Sandman, you saw him with Green Goblin, you saw him with Hydra, you saw all these characters come in and just sales went through the roof. And then sales dipped down again. It's just going to happen over and over and over. And there's going to be new talents, there's going to be new surges. I think there's a down wave right now with stuff, but things will come back again. People were crazy for Walking Dead for a while, if you remember. And there was another superhero character, Invincible. Does that sound right?
Yeah, but the difference in Walking Dead, George, is that didn't spread out to that didn't spark a revival, as you say. Like, that's a good word. But Walking Dead did not spark a revival. People just wanted Walking Dead, and that was it. Like, where Spawn sparked a revival, you know, like.
No, I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. Maybe independent is that revival. I think it is. Like, I think now. I think the independent model is going to change as we learn what we're doing. The creators learn what they're doing as they refine how things flow to the readers, from the creators to the readers. I think we'll see changes, massive changes. But I think independent is that revival you're looking for.
I think there's ways for the. And when I say mainstream, I think of the two big companies. I think of Marvel and DC. And I think there's ways for both of them to inject new life in their books, in their standard monthly superhero titles. And that's cut down the number of titles and put your absolute best creative teams on it. If I was them, if I'm going to make a $4 comic, I would limit it to 25 books a month. You can walk in with $100 and say, I want all the Marvel or DC titles for this month, and start building your brand that way.
George, if they were going to do that, though, they would have done it by now. That's what I'm confused about. You're like, there's a solution to it. And we all said that same solution you're saying. It's not been done yet, and I don't see them going to that.
Yeah.
Someday they'll be back again. I assure you. This same conversation has been going on for 50 years.
Well, what do you think about what the indies are doing at the moment, George? Do you agree with Leroy? Do you think that that's part of the revival you're talking about?
I think what creators are seeing is if they want to put out their own character and own their own rights, they got to do it themselves. And they're hesitant to create something for a company and just have their creation just torn to shreds. So yes, you're right. Like, if you have an idea, and I'm going to use Corey as an example because he's sitting right there. He's got this great idea. Why would he go to Dark Horse? Why would he go to Image when he can just do it himself and keep everything? So yeah, I do see that happening.
Kid, I would never sell Kozo to like Image even.
Yeah, I mean, I think, George, you're definitely right. Like,
And that's the other thing about indie books. Like, okay, we're not as big as mainstream, but all the money, like the profits and stuff, is going directly to me and Clayton. It isn't going through a publisher or anyone else.
And
that's
here's the
how,
thing.
like, the CG books are going to survive.
We have the
as well.
ability to build an audience, right? Our own audience. That's in our hands now, right? And people talk about, oh, YouTube, it's too saturated, or Facebook is dying, and they make up excuses as to why they can't build an audience. And those people are going to lose. They're a bunch of losers because they don't understand that at the end of the day, if it's possible for PewDiePie to do it, it's also possible for them to do it as well. Maybe they take a slightly different road to enable themselves to do it, but it's definitely possible. And the thing is, let's take PewDiePie for an example, right? And he's a bit different because he's not in comic books, but let's say he was. Let's say Ethan Van Sciver gets 3 times the subscribers that he's got now, 3 times the audience base. And he decides to put out a comic book. Well, that audience is there, like surrounding that IP.
I disagree with you a little bit, Clayton, on this. Like, you guys cannot afford to stream and be as active on YouTube as PewDiePie because you have to draw.
I agree.
Right.
I agree.
So that's the problem.
And that is the one massive hurdle, right, that we've got to overcome. I think that there's got to be a time for campaigning and YouTubing. There's got to be a time for production. That's why I think people like Rob are in a good position. They've got a great opportunity. Rob could freaking stream all day if he wanted to, because he's not necessarily producing the book himself. He's got a creative team behind him doing it. So he's marketing. He's PR.
So you're saying Rob doesn't do anything? That's what I just heard.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, no.
insert foot here.
But I'm sure you guys agree that it's a much better place to be in.
Yeah, as an artist, you have to get the book done. Like, that's your job.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, no. So as an example, with this Borok project that we've got underway, it's, I've got a bit of a hand in it. But honestly, if I wasn't working on other stuff like Kozor and Renegade Alpha, I would just be marketing the heck out of it. Like, that would be my job.
Let me throw a hypothetical situation. Hey, George, who's your favorite writer in Comicsgate or the mainstream? Anyone, either of those?
Probably Frank Miller.
Frank Miller, okay. And let's say Clayton is designing the character. Mm-hmm. Because we know Clayton does sick character designs, so it's going to be sick. You've seen Ghost, you've seen Goliath, you've seen Borok, you've seen them all. They look fantastic, right? So Clayton has designed the character. Frank Miller is writing the books. There's no editorial handicap. They can do whatever they want. Who's going to be drawing the book? George, who do you want?
Corey.
Corey's drawing the book.
Yeah,
right. You've got the same distribution that Marvel or DC have. How do you think that book would be received now? Do you think it would do?
That's a good question. You saying would a Frank Miller written Corey and Clayton book outsell like Spider-Man with the creative talent that's on it right now?
Yeah,
that's a good question. It would require a ton of marketing. More than just what YouTube and social media could do, because Marvel has that much pull. Because people can go into a store and say, "Give me Spider-Man," but people won't go into a store and say, "Give me whatever this X character is." That would be that would be tough. Now, can it make more money? Absolutely, but will it sell more? I don't know.
But would you be interested in reading it?
Yes, absolutely,
me too, for sure.
Yeah. Man, I feel like we're getting into a time where industries are beginning to lose hold of the industry. I would say large corporations are beginning to lose hold of the industry. And the industry is instead being upheld by individual creators, independents. And I think that we're going to see that transition slide more and more in the direction that it has been. And eventually, Disney will exist. I don't think Disney's ever not going to exist. It'll always be there. Marvel will always be there. But the independents will be the ones controlling the industry, I think. That's my opinion. I think that they'll become much of a lesser deal. When you think about the industry, you won't think about the mainstream anymore. You'll think about the individual titles and stuff that you collect from the individual creators that produce them. And it'll be much wider. It'll be much broader. When I talk to Corey, most of the time, we won't be talking about the same characters that we're collecting the comic book of, you know? And he'll be telling me about, I don't know, Stingray Man. And I won't have ever heard of Stingray Man before. And Corey will tell me about him. And I'll be like, man, this is sick. I've never heard of this creator or this writer either. Like, this is awesome. I'm going to start collecting this as well. Like, it'll just be like this ocean, this vast ocean. And I think that with the internet and with the ability to build our own audiences, that's definitely sustainable. That's what I think. It's definitely swinging that way.
Hey,
Netflix Netflix is indie big time. I mean, I reckon it's only a matter of time before they start to get on more and more independent creators. They were really smart. They're actually funding these movies.
Netflix is a terrible example because they're doing the same thing that Marvel and DC are doing.
They are. They'll ultimately fail. And eventually there'll be another streaming service that comes along. And you'll see this happen in all industries. The video game industry, all industries. They're going to start switching on. I'm hoping, I'm praying that they're going to throw out this PC culture and they're going to start, going back to the 80s, going back to the 90s, looking at what worked back then, because I feel like they were clicking into real human motivations. People are always going to love action. They're always going to love impact. They're always going to like sexiness, as Corey says. They'll love well-written stories. Combine all of that together.
Well, the Image Revolution wasn't exactly known for their well-written stories, Clayton.
Well, exactly. And they still sold massively, like hugely, to the point where it completely destroyed the industry. So I think that...
So I would say that what happened with that revolution is close to what's happening now, though. You had a bunch of creators that were fed up, and they went over to Image, and they started their own thing. Well, that's happening now. You have some creators that are fed up, and they're coming to Indiegogo or Kickstarter. I know we don't go to Kickstarter, but they got to be mentioned, and they're doing their own thing. So, it's similar in that way.
One thing as well, like there seems to be no repercussions for characters, right? I was watching one of those animated DC movies, and I'm sure it's happened thousands of times in comics throughout the years. But basically, they lost. The good guys lost. The world was taken over. Everything was doomed, right? And they just created a flashpoint, had a flash run back through the Speed Force, whatever the crap he does, and reset it all, right? And if there's no finality to it, if there's no what's the word I'm looking for? Consequences to what happens in books. I mean, do you really care?
That was like Endgame.
Dude,
I saw that movie. It was horrendous.
Yeah,
horrendous, wasn't it, George?
It was like Apocalypse, or I can't remember what it was. But you're right. It just at the end, everyone lost, and Flash just went back in time again. It's just Apocalypse War, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stakes. Yeah, exactly. The stakes. There are no stakes because you just reset everything. It's pointless.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when you have to keep resetting a comic book series, that's gonna ruin it again and again over time, because it's like you're trying to do the same thing or something, and there's no interest.
Yeah.
It's like, which Batman version are you gonna buy?
Yeah, characters need to have some level of progression. That's probably why manga is so successful, because you see that. Like, let's take Dragon Ball Z here for a second, or Dragon Ball in general. No, seriously, when you think about it, he's a perfect example. Goku is a perfect example of a character that has major amounts of progression and actually changes a lot over time. Starts out as a kid, becomes an adult, levels up, changes, transforms.
This
learns.
Dragon Ball character, is it the same creative team on it from start to finish?
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, it is.
Well, and that's the
Yeah.
same thing that Naruto was the same way, right? Lone Wolf and Cub was the same way. It's
Yeah.
very different. You have a finite beginning and end with the same creative team once again, and that's what I'm talking about. It's the creative team that makes the difference. When Frank Miller injected new life in Batman had been around for 50 years already, or 40 years, whatever it was. You need the proper creative teams.
You do. Yeah, and if you can't get them, just kill the character off and start something else.
And that's the thing, though. Like Corey, I imagine has a beginning, middle, and end planned for Kozor, right? It's not going to just keep on going forever and ever because it makes money. Like there'll be a point where it ends at, I assume, Corey.
Yeah, well, for the first series, it's got a beginning, middle, and end, and it'll be like a proper ending. But then there might be like another series after that, which is like completely different. Like I'll never like reset the story of Kozor or reset characters. I think that's the worst thing you could do to it because it would just muck up the story. But like all the characters age and stuff, like in Dragon Ball Z or something, and I think that's cool.
It's kind of weird though. Like you kind of seem to have two different things. You've got like on one hand, you've got manga that does, you can get digital for free. It comes out more regularly than comic books. It has animated series. It has all that kind of stuff. So it's, and then on the other hand, you've got the French comic book thing, which does like 2 books a year. It's a premium. And then in the middle, you've got comic books like from the mainstream, and it doesn't seem to be working.
I'm pretty sure manga's not meant to be for free digitally. I'm pretty sure it's just a pirate website.
There's just pirates out there. Exactly right.
Yeah.
But it still sells. Like it's pirated and it still sells books by the millions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but Liam Gray, who did Xenotype, he released a few different series that were tied to Xenotype on some website, some manga website, and it had like 16,000 people read it, which is pretty mental, like that level of exposure. And this was on multiple books that he had released on there. So,
well, I mean
it's got lots of popularity.
We talked about that where you can do that here. I mean, with ash cans, like say that Corey is putting out Kozor and you were closer on your own book to get it out. I know you're not, but let's just take that example. You can throw like a 14, 16 page ash can out with that campaign and add that as a stretch goal us Kozor, or you can get with another creator and maybe do that.
Dude, no joke. We've actually been thinking about doing that with Borok and Kozor too. But again, we're not 100% sure on that. We think it'd be a great idea.
The original plan was to release like the first 5 pages of Borok with Kozor issue 2, but since Borok looks insane, I think Clayton just wants to do it on the one thing.
So to get back to the point, Rob, like I said, I think it's multiple reasons. It's not just one. That why is the mainstream dying? And I know George doesn't like that. I think it's correct. I know we disagree fundamentally on that, but there's multiple reasons for the state that we're in right now, at the very least.
Crackhead says, at this point, even if a badass Batman story came out with great art, I just wouldn't be as excited as I am for something like Wreck Planet or any of the other CG books I'm backed, because I'm just kind of over it. And that's kind of where I am with like Batman and Superman. I really liked Batman back in the day, but it's just been done. Where do you take Batman from here, George, to make it exciting?
Well, you need the right creative team to do that. I can't do that. I'm not part of the creative process. No one would have thought to age him up to 50, 35 years ago, but it was done and it was amazing.
I mean, we have a recent example with Ward Murphy too. there's a more recent example in Dark Knight Returns of Batman, kind of a new creator taking it over and it lighting a spark. I mean, it can be done, and it's been done recently.
Yeah, there you go. And how did it do? How did it sell?
I mean, Sean Gordon Murphy became the golden child of DC after that, so I would assume it did very well. I know I have it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Far out.
Well, maybe it's not dying then.
So the answer is just draw more hot chicks.
No, like I said, I don't think it's recoverable. I mean, I think that it's just too far gone now.
It's the comment I want you to read. 3 Joker series sold really well, but DC didn't take advantage of the creative team and moved on.
Well, here's the point that Shane brought up to me when I talked about 3 Jokers, is that has been in development for years. So the problem is that DC had a lot of money tied up to it, and it took them a long time to get that return on investment, where they don't like to operate that way. You know, they want immediate return on investment, so that's why they're not following that model.
Yeah, and that's bad for them. It actually does go back to a comment I saw Ellie posted earlier, which was on the page rate that these artists are being paid. And I don't know how much writers get paid. I have no idea, but I know artists get paid real badly in the mainstream industry. And I think unless they start to spend more money on comic books, they're not going to make more money, and the industry will just completely, you know, I don't think it's going to completely die. I think the mainstream will still be out there, but as it makes less money, they're going to focus less on comic books and just more on movies.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask Rob. Rob, what do you think is a better investment if you were in business, to spend $95,000 and make $100,000, or to spend $5,000 and make $10,000?
The second one.
Exactly. So you're putting out less money and still making the same amount. Maybe what's happening here is these big companies are putting out less money, spending less on their creators, selling less books, but in the end, still making the same amount of money, or pretty enough close to it, where they're not willing to take the risk of a financial flop if they put out $95,000 and this book doesn't sell.
Well, I mean, we had Adam on the other week, and he was saying that one Batman Arkham game makes more money than comic books do in 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's just
really
crazy.
Dude, I barely buy any like Batman comics except for like the David Finch stuff, but I play the shit out of those games, man, because they're good.
Yeah, they got to bring the audience,
and they got hot women in them, dude.
Yeah, man.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Like, the audience has forgotten about the comics that they read when they were kids. Like, at some point, they were reading Batman or they were reading Spider-Man, and they were like, man, this is just trash. Like, I'm sad. This isn't the character I grew up with anymore. I'm going to stop reading it. And that happened so much that the readership just dwindled, and that's why you're seeing the sales that we see today. But that was the industry's intention, to bring in a new audience, and that audience just was nowhere near as invested as the old one. It was an idiotic move, because it takes so much time to cultivate an audience in the first place. Why would you and you make so much more money from an existing audience? Why would you throw them out and try to bring in a new one? That never made sense to me. And so now we're in a situation where the new audience sucks, because they're not paying for comics. They're not really even interested in comic books. They're just interested in the politics of comic books. And so now the only way for the industry to revive itself is to go where that older generation is now. And where are they? Do they go into comic book stores anymore? Probably not. They might be on Facebook. They might be online somewhere. Somehow they have to create new stories that are going, and new characters that are going to interest that older audience. And they have to put those products in front of the older audience.
I kind of disagree with you a little bit, Clint. I think what's happening now is the fiscal realities of what they're reaping what they sow right now, right? So with all these bad business practices that George has been pointing out, the SJW politics that you pointed out, the lack of IPs or whatever, like they're reaping what they sowed now. Like it's all catching up to them right now.
Yeah. I agree, and they would have to. They would have to do something real special to make people forget that stuff because they've really tarnished their reputation and name. I agree with you actually about that, but I think that you would also agree that is it impossible? Like I think I'd be blown away if they released an awesome Batman series that was different, that had brilliant artwork on it, that was raved about. I don't know. I might take a look at it.
Oh yeah,
but it would have to look so cool, and it would have to be in a newsagent where I didn't expect it to be, or something.
The thing is I'm not cheering for the death of the mainstream. I'm not like I'm heartbroken. Like honestly, that we're in the state that we are. I'm not a big fan. I want everything to be good, but judging by business practices, everything else that's going on, I just can't see it.
Yeah, what comes around goes around. I agree, man. I don't think they're smart enough to do what we're discussing here anyway.
I mean, honestly, I'm kind of over heroes altogether when I think about it. Even if a good Spider-Man or a good Batman book came out, I'd probably still prefer something like Berserk because it's so different, different genre, different everything.
I'm not over heroes. I thought I was, but somebody showed me some art recently that has me real excited about a hero book. So I thought I was with you, Corey. I thought maybe, but I think it's just everything's lackadaisical and rehashed and whatever. We just need injection of something new. I think that's why Cyberfrog takes hold, and maybe Kozor takes hold, or whatever. But I think that
Spawn went so well because he's an anti-hero, and he looks so different to something like Spider-Man or Batman. And it's more gritty.
It is.
Crackhead says, I'm not cheering for it, but I don't care anymore. And I think that's that's the best way of putting it as simply as possible. I kind of feel the same way. I want to see comics last for as long as I'm alive, but I just don't care what they do to Spider-Man anymore. I just don't.
Till the end of time, and George.
Precisely.
Yeah. I mean, George, who's your favorite character overall?
Swamp Thing.
Of all times, probably Swamp Thing. Yeah.
I don't know if this is just me, but I'm a huge Star Trek fan. Just love it. It's great. But whenever something is released these days, like Star Trek, and if they did something new with Swamp Thing, I am actually scared to watch it because I'm scared it's going to hurt the thing that I love. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, absolutely positive. Yeah.
Lord of the Rings is the best example of that. They're putting out a show, and I'm mortified of the show that's coming out.
I remember when the Swamp Thing TV series came out a year ago or 2 years ago for that DC Online network that they were going to do, and I remember thinking they're going to ruin this. They're going to ruin this, and I watched the first episode, and it was incredible. And before the first episode was done, they had announced they canceled the series.
And that
day.
That was a different time than we are in down, George. You know what they were doing, the Swamp Thing in a TV show right now?
This was 2 years ago.
Yeah, every 2 years ago until today's political climate might as well be a decade ago now.
Did you guys watch the Swamp Thing movie that came out about 2 years ago as well?
I didn't know there was one.
No, the Swamp Thing movies came out in the early 80s. This was a TV series.
There was a new Swamp Thing movie that came out. Corey, I think we watched the trailer of it.
You might be thinking of a Man Thing.
I thought it was selected TV show or something.
The trailer was for the TV show, which is incredible. It's by James Wan, I think, the guy that did the Aquaman movie, I think.
Yeah, was there a cartoon Swamp Thing or something?
There is.
As well?
The only movie I'm aware of is 82. I think the 82 movie.
Yeah.
They're doing a remaster of the original Mass Effect series, and I'm pretty damn worried about that.
Well, that's what
it looks good, but apparently they cut out some of this Miranda chick's butt angles, and I'm like, oh fuck.
And like that's the thing too. Like I know it's all based around
that
money,
does look
but
good.
there's so many good shows that just get cancelled because I assume they don't make enough money. Like Almost Human, that could have been great. The Expanse has been cancelled before and picked up by another network. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, fantastic comedy, that's been cancelled now.
I hated Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I loved Almost Human. I loved that show.
And then you have I like Supernatural. It has 14 seasons, right? Like it's just about money all the time. And
Supernatural's a chick's show, man.
Quality shows. It's fucking frustrating.
I can't believe Clayton watches Supernatural. It's a chick show.
Dude, I watched it yesterday. I started watching season 15. You know why I like Supernatural? It's a show that knows what it is. That's why I like it. It knows what it is, and it doesn't try to be more than that. It doesn't try to be less than that.
A show for golf chicks.
So that Swamp Thing series, yeah, you're right. It is a series. It looks cool, and there's like 10 episodes.
Yes, that's it.
And you watched all 10?
I loved it.
Everyone?
Yep.
I'm gonna check it out, man.
Very faithful to the comic book series.
Bro, we should watch together, man. Don't fucking watch it by yourself.
Is it animated?
No, live action. Absolutely incredible show.
It looks cool, man. So that's what I mean. Like when something works, and I noticed CW were the ones that put it out. So why does CW keep all the stuff that doesn't work, and why does it cancel something?
No,
like
you're confused. I'm telling you, the show was created for this DC network, and they canceled it after 1 year. Now it's being aired a year later on the CW. It wasn't made for the CW.
Okay, I see. Right.
So they only started airing on the CW after the show was already canceled.
Oh, and yeah, it does say it was canceled after one episode, but then why is there like 10 episodes?
It was canceled when the first episode was aired, but they made a whole season.
Oh wow! And you can still watch the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great, man! I can't believe that they canceled it. Why? Is there a reason?
Because of the cost of creating the show. Because it was twice as expensive as any other show they were creating.
But it was already created.
They actually canceled it. I think they were supposed to have 4 episodes left. They condensed it all down to 1. So it was supposed to be a 13 episode season. They made it 10.
Yeah, but they said that they stopped airing it after episode 1.
Mm-mm.
Oh. Okay.
Clayton, you really need to understand how the Swamp Thing came about.
That's what it says. That's what it says. Cancelled after 1 episode.
I borrow ideas. Says you'll have to speak to the show, Clayton. They claimed Swamp Thing was too pricey. Yeah.
Well, probably. They need to spend more money, and they will make more money.
Well, you'd think they'd learn that after shows like Game of Thrones, but apparently they haven't. So
it looked like Mandalorian had a massive budget. I haven't ever watched it, but it looks like that's good effects.
Well,
and it's really popular.
It was.
It was, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, look, all good things must come to an end, right? You know what I really love about Breaking Bad till this day is they ended it right when it was good, when it needed to end, at the perfect place. 5 seasons, done. That's all we're doing. Before it turned into crap. Yeah. And that's what people should do with their comic books, I think, in the independent arena, is look, plan the end of your story. Don't drag it on just because it's making money. And pay your artists well. Make a killer series. Pay your writers well if you're paying them as well.
I've never heard of this. Marco Polo is a case of spending insane amounts of money on doesn't mean success. 200 million a season.
That was a terrible show on Netflix.
I never even heard of it.
Yeah, don't watch it, George. Especially you. You would think it was terrible. Maybe not everybody, but you would.
Maybe only spend money on good ideas.
Just we're at the end of the hour, so we'll wrap up this topic. I might hang around for a little bit. You guys are welcome to as well. But one question I just wanted to ask for George. right? We get the Supermans, we get the Batmans, we get the Spider-Mans. They're the ones that are thrown in our face all the time. But you love Swamp Thing. Are there any other characters that they should be pushing out there because they're that good?
No, that's why we're at where we're at, Rob. Is we're pushing the old stuff.
Hey, let George speak, Leroi. Man.
You know,
You always do it, George.
There was a time when Swamp Thing was the best-selling comic book, when Alan Moore was on it. And once again, we'll go back to the creative team. When Alan Moore was writing Swamp Thing, it was the best-selling book at DC, won Book of the Year multiple times. People forget that because it changed so much. You know, I was always talking about X-Men and stuff like that, but there was a time when that was the most popular book. I think it all comes down to the creative people that are on it. You know, I talk about Deadman a lot, but Neil Adams was drawing Deadman. I mean, how do you beat Neil Adams' art from the 1970s? Yeah, there's a lot of major characters that people don't talk about much because, you know, they've moved on, but look at the creative team that was on them.
Yeah. Do you think it's even a good idea to try and attempt to revive characters, to bring them back, or should, you know, once they're done, they're done? You know, like, okay, so you see a lot of characters being revived in comics. You see a lot of reboots of TV series and movies and stuff happening. That doesn't seem to work very well.
I don't mind a reboot every once in a while, right? But it's the constant rebooting of everything all the time that really shits me.
It's like an annual reboot now.
It's just like if there's a story that hasn't been told in a long time and someone's got a really good idea of how to bring it back and do it differently and make it interesting, sure. But that's not the reason why they're doing it. They're just doing it for the money.
Well, it's like the variant, like the variant covers thing.
I think it's always going to be the nostalgia of the creator. It's not going to be a corporate person saying, I want you to bring back, you know, the Lone Ranger. It's going to be someone saying, I grew up loving the Lone Ranger as a kid. I want to draw him. I'd even be willing to draw him for free because I love the Lone Ranger that much.
That's cool.
It's that enthusiasm that gets people on board with it.
They're clearly bringing back Miss Marvel because someone higher up at Marvel is trying to, you know, because they keep resetting her series and shit. And that's clearly not because creators want to do her.
Since when?
Like, that's the thing about, like, Miss Marvel, the series keeps being reset, so the shop person has to buy the first issue each time. And that's why it's so high on the charts. But then it gets reset.
So when was she reset? Like, I know, like, recently.
Like, multiple times, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what was that about RoboCop?
I watched that again the other day. Great movie, RoboCop.
The new one?
No, the first one.
Oh,
first one rocks. Yeah, first one's amazing.
I did like the design of the RoboCop in the new one, though. I thought
I didn't.
No, that was shit, man.
It was so unmemorable.
Like
dude.
I got to be honest. I saw the preview.
RoboCop.
I saw the preview and I was excited, and I watched the movie and I regret it.
Yeah,
I just love in the first movie where they're bringing in that big robot thing with the dual guns, and the guy picks up the gun and then puts it down, and the thing just
Ed
blasts
209.
Yeah,
fantastic.
So good, man. That was a massively violent movie too.
that was like a perfect movie, man.
It was
had
good.
like everything in it, and that was good writing too.
Man, we need that. You
Yeah.
want to revive things? You want to bring back the comic book industry? You want to bring back entertainment? That's what you need.
Let's just go back
You
to
need
the
the
80s, man,
ingredients.
where all the movies were awesome.
And I don't
agree.
think that's just old men talking. I think if you put that in front of like a 14, 15-year-old kid these days, they would totally go for it over anything else that's out there right now.
Oh yeah, man. Dude.
Yeah, they would be like, "This shit's cool. Finally, like I'm not being insulted anymore."
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, Hollywood loves to remake R-rated movies and turn them PG-13.
I hate that so much, man.
Yeah.
You don't see 80s movies anymore. You don't see the nudity, you don't see the violence. It's upsetting.
And then they make a movie like the new Harley Quinn R-rated for some reason.
And the characters aren't idealized anymore. Like, what role models, what ideals am I supposed to look up to anymore? There's no Arnold Schwarzeneggers. There's no hot, sexy babes like models, like goddesses and gods. Like, we need that as human beings.
Yeah.
I'm upset that we're never going to have an action star as good as Arnold Schwarzenegger again.
Yeah, he was
Dude, I
pretty.
think we could.
Jason Statham's pretty good though.
Oh, Clayton.
And I like
People
Liam
love it.
Neeson.
Bless.
Liam Neeson is good.
Liam Neeson
I
is
like
good.
him.
Action star? Come on.
Like those movies are pretty well. Actually, Liam Neeson's
Dude, Liam
movies
Neeson's
are
gonna
solid. You know
retire,
what you're gonna
man.
get.
I do like
And
Liam
Jason-
Neeson.
Yeah, Jason Statham has some good ones.
No,
I actually think the Guardians of the Galaxy guy, like the main character,
Chris
he would
Pratt?
be a good Indiana Jones.
no.
Really?
Dude, he's like
He's got a bit of like a sort of funny,
he's too ginger to be Indiana Jones, man.
He's not
Jason
ginger, is he?
Momoa. What a disappointment. He was fantastic
man.
in Stargate Atlantis, and everything from there has been disappointing. George is shaking his head in agreement.
Dude, he was only good in Game of Thrones, I thought.
He was pretty good in Game of Thrones. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a great character.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
Game of Thrones, it's like you just ignore the last 1 or 2 seasons.
Yeah. The Rock's disappointing, man. I thought he was going to make some good movies. They're very few and far between.
Do you know who I've been watching recently? It's not an action actor, but Will Ferrell. All of his movies crack me up big time. He's such a dorky character, and I know that I'm going to have a good time every time all of his movies. None of them are, I mean, they're bad, but that's why they're good.
We're streaking.
Shake and bake. Yeah.
I love it when he gets tranked and falls in the pool.
Yeah. What's that one?
Oh, God, what was that movie? I don't know.
There's so many good ones, man. He's a great comedy actor.
A lot of Arnold's movies are terrible.
No.
Some of them are.
unintentional.
But
Like, you got True Lives, you got Terminator, you've got Predator, you've got
Total Recall,
Manga, fantastic.
Total Recall, yeah.
Total.
What was that
What are
one
we
we watched
talking about,
recently?
Bangkok?
Conan, yes.
Yeah.
Sixth Day kind of sucked.
Oh, no, that's not a good movie.
Yeah.
Any mods, feel free to time out Bancroft for that statement of just outrageousness.
No, stop timing out people, man. Fuck, it's SJW bullshit.
Oh,
Timing out
Conan.
people.
Twins, that's another good one.
Conan was fantastic as well.
Yeah, Conan was great.
Hmm.
All right,
Yeah.
well, boys, what's news with you guys?
What are you gonna say, bro?
Oh,
We might have an actual Barton Bros stream. Talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to have more. But look, we want to have a Barton Bros stream every, once a week. We want to give people updates, to let them know what's happening, and just to keep them in the loop. We want you guys to feel like you're part of this as much as we are. We're not doing this alone. We're doing it with you. It's awesome. Since when, as creators, can we do that? So yeah, once a week. I don't know, what day are you free, Corey, to do these streams? Barton Bros streams.
Well, I mean, dude, we could stream later on today since we do have actual news to talk about.
Yeah, let's
If you
do
would,
it,
man. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it,
Later
man.
today.
We'll make
Sweet.
it happen.
Just
We'll do it at,
remember,
like-
there's a big
We'll
stream.
do it.
There's a big stream by Ethan tonight. If you guys don't want to compete against him,
That's okay. Well,
how big is this news? That's what I'm saying. I mean,
will
if you
Ethan
really
be
want-
angry if we stream at the
No,
same
no,
time?
I'm not
as him?
saying it's angry. What I'm saying is, if it's that big a news, Like
It's just like an update on
not
Gozer,
huge news.
basically.
you did a good
Yeah.
update, by the way, Clayton.
A very good update.
On your campaign. It was
Oh,
excellent.
really?
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
You showed off these amazing trading cards by came in white.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll color those. I want to color them.
Well,
Dude,
a lot
I'm getting.
Dude can draw.
a lot of thought went into that update too. I appreciated it, Clayton. So
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I can write. When I sit down to write, I can write.
That's a great page.
Yeah, man, it looks sick, doesn't it? I
I
can't
love
wait
the
to actually.
shadows, like on the left side of his body, like that dark, deep shadow. Sensational.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and one really cool thing is you guys are like one backer away from 470. So that would be really cool. If anyone else in chat hasn't backed
That
it
would be
yet, one
insane,
backer
man.
away. 470.
Yeah, we're almost at 30k USD too, which is cool.
And we two backers away from 575. So that is really cool as well.
It's exciting, man. I love seeing this stuff.
It's great. It's sensational.
I mean, look at this comic.
George, what's news with you?
Nothing.
Splintering review?
The last one I did 94, and I did something else.
Wait, is that a rocking chair in George's background?
Right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
it's a glider.
It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you very much.
What's the glider?
That was my wife used to rock the kids in it when they were little. We didn't have the heart to get rid of it. You know, Corey's heartless jerk, but my wife and I were sentimental, so we kept it. We didn't have the heart to get rid of it.
I had to buy
That's
one
awesome.
for my wife when she was actually pregnant, George.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought it was
Yeah.
just for you, George.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Even though I backed your book twice, it's all right.
Wait, what did you
Bankrupt
back
says,
twice
I
on
forget how
the
to
campaign,
cancel.
George?
What's that, Rob?
Bancroft just says, I forget how good Kozo looks sometimes.
It does look good.
It does, yeah.
Thanks, Bancroft.
So how
You're awesome.
comfortable is that chair, George?
The one in the back?
Yeah, the rocking chair.
I've never sat in it.
What?
Oh, really?
Like I said,
Never.
we didn't have the heart to get rid of it, so it just sits there.
But you've never sat in it.
No, my wife rocked the kids in it when they were little. I just told you that.
How is there a chair in your house that you've never sat on?
Look, the sofa's more comfortable.
But like, even just to try it, like,
No, that's my wife's chair. She sat in it with them, not me.
so that's
Yeah.
off limits. Oh,
I'm glad
That
you
is
guys like
awesome.
it. It's only been there for 20 years, but that's cool.
well, to be fair, we haven't been looking at you for 20 years, though, George.
That's true.
and you got some sort of portable heater there as well.
Hmm.
That little thing?
Yeah.
It's like an air purifier.
Oh, very interesting.
And you've got ceiling panels like you're in an office or something.
I'm in my basement.
This is turned into let's analyze George's basement.
I find it really strange that like Americans have basements. We don't have them here at all.
I wish I had a
I wish I
basement.
had one
Do you
too.
have a lot of like earthquakes where you're at?
No.
Do you have
Never.
dirt or clay as your what do you have as the foundation where you're at?
Dirt.
Huh. I don't know then.
We have to have them where I live because of tornadoes.
See, that's cool, man. Like, I want a basement to hide in if there's a disaster or we get invaded
Here we
or
go.
something happens.
It's not where I live. It's just part of the house. Like it's finished like the rest of the house, so it's not like a hideout. It's just like another floor to the house.
Yeah, I want to hide out. I don't really want mine attached to the house. I want to be able to go down to the paddock somewhere and hide in a basement.
Do you have a panic room in your house, George?
I wish I could go to it right now, to be honest with you.
All I heard is Clayton is a neckbeard at heart. That's all I heard.
Dude, sad news. Sad news. I had the best goatee going on, the best beard goatee.
Dude,
and
he's
last
like
night,
a Malin wannabe, man.
last night, I took it all off and had immediate regret. I'm like, man, I got to grow this thing back quickly.
Dude,
You know, I think George pulls off a clean-shaven face really well.
Well, thank you very much. Don't you usually run an hour, Rob? What's going on there?
George.
My kid's gone to kinder, so I've got extra time.
Oh, okay.
All right.
We could go another 4 hours.
You should have warned us in advance.
All right. I'll be quiet now. I'll be quiet.
No, you've been pretty good today, Clayton. I'm pretty proud of you.
Thanks,
Clayton,
Leroy.
you've been sensational, mate. You've kept it to at least a G level.
Yeah. I mean, Rob was trying to light it up at the beginning, but didn't work out.
He's trying to stoke the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Leroy? How's your painting going?
Actually, I've been in work. I've been doing work during this stream because I got a phone call at the beginning of it. So, like, I'm working while I'm talking.
Wait, where do
Nice.
you work? Leroy?
I work from my house.
Oh, what type of work do you do?
Computer or software engineering.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Clayton has Doc Ock hair. How is your hair going, Clayton? Why don't you give us a preview?
Oh man, I don't really want to be honest. The
Dude,
hairdresser
last time
didn't.
I was at his place.
The hairdresser
Okay,
didn't cut
great.
my hair very well last time. I'm a bit annoyed. I don't know if I should. I don't know if I'm going to show it. Oh, it's looking especially hairless today. Actually,
It looks fine.
I'm just going to put that back on.
Reminds me of our Carrot Top.
What's wrong with his hair?
Dude, it looks like awesome, man.
So that's just
I thought it looked fine.
It's beanie hair. It's beanie hair. And
I took pictures of Clayton's bald patch on top of his head last time I was there, and he's like threatening.
dude, I
Man.
wanted you to keep it so that I could take pictures of you, but you didn't want to keep it for some reason. I said, "Oh, okay. I'm glad
Dude, you're
that
threatening,
we're
man.
doing this now."
George, feel free to drop out anytime.
Okay, thank you. See you guys.
whoa, wow.
Wow, that was quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ali, I'm bald on top. You didn't know this the whole time? No, I'm kidding. I'm not bald.
Another
I just have
Supercuts
thin
customer.
hair.
He's patchy.
Patchy, mangy, all of the
Now
above.
I'm going to have to do my hair for our stream, Corey, so people know the truth.
Go. Clayton on top of Corey. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Wait,
we should wrap this up.
We should, because we've all run out of things to say
George abandons us.
so quickly. Anything you're working on that you can show, Clayton?
No.
Corey?
Try finding something.
Ali says, "Oh my God, send Clayton hats. The poor child needs them."
Nah, I got nothing to show.
What can I
tomorrow.
say? What
All
can I
right,
say?
we'll wrap it up. Thanks everyone for tuning in. It was an interesting discussion. I think the consensus is there are a lot of problems with the mainstream. Monthly books will probably die. The cancel culture doesn't help. The fact that they've been using the same characters for a long time doesn't help. There's no new IPs. There's different creative teams.
No hot women.
No hot women. That's pretty much it. Anything else we had?
No, that's it.
Show us the Catwoman teaser. I know what he's talking about. What time are you guys streaming tonight?
In Eastern time, not Australia time.
We can stream just before Bancroft. Does Bancroft stream at 3 o'clock?
He's not streaming today. He's got a day off.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, we'll stream just before Bancroft usually does.
Like,
We'll let you know. We'll do a post on our Twitter.
All right.
And
And
you'll know.
as I said, Kozor is just needs one more backer to hit 470. So if you haven't backed, check it out. Links in the description. Replicator needs 2 backers to hit 575. So if you haven't backed it, links in the description. Thank you, everyone. Have a great one, and we'll see you next time. Bye.